So sometimes you want to wear a corset without making it obvious that you're wearing a corset. Hey guys, it's Morgan with BDSM Relationships and Education. Thank you very much for checking out this video. When corsets first came about, they were basically a brassiere and shapewear all in one. So they were meant to be worn underneath the clothing. So it's really only in the last, say, 30, maybe 40 years that we've started to wear corsets on the outside of our clothing as opposed to underneath the clothes. So this is how they were designed to be worn originally, and that's why you're going to see a lot of corsets in just like a white cotton or a cream cotton and other very simple designs and colors and patterns that you'll see historically in historic corsets, because no one was ever supposed to see them. It was basically your brassiere or your underwear, just kind of all combined into one. So corsets were designed, and they still are, to be worn as shapewear, so it helped shape the waist. But it also, they were usually over bust corsets or partial bust corsets, and it acted as a brassiere because sort of the modern brassiere did not exist at that point in time. Now we have these wonderful contraptions that hold our boobs in place without, needing a whole support structure from the hips all the way up to the armpits, and we have underwires and all kinds of great things like that. Can you tell I'm a big fan of bras? Like, I know a lot of women and people with breasts do not like bras at all, but I gotta tell you, going without a bra is just downright painful for me. So I love bras. So you'll have to kind of deal with that one. I'm sorry, but I also sort of the things that bras do for me, holding me in place, constricting my body, lifting it up, because, with large breasts, they're not so perky anymore. So, using a bra to keep them where I would like them to be. I like bras for the same reason that I like corsets, which hold me in and shape my body the way I want it to be shaped. But that's another subject entirely. But you guys can see I'm getting a great silhouette, and I've tried to stand in front of my white closet here so you can see. And I've got the corset underneath. And like I said, I'm just going to use this elastic belt to give a bit of shape. And I'll show you with and without the belt. So without the belt, thankfully this dress has elastic around the waist to kind of pull it in. So you can see I do get good shape there. And this dress is designed to be kind of like a 1950s style. It's kind of short. I don't know if I can get back far enough that you guys can see. Well, you can sort of see the bottom of the dress there. So it's only going to the middle of my thigh. So without the belt and with the belt, I just like the belt because when I was a bit smaller wearing the same dress, it didn't have enough elastic to hold it close to my body. I also find that the belt helps hide the bit of lacing bulge that you get at the back, and I'll talk about how to hide that a little bit. But anyways, you can get this great silhouette, and there's other things that you can do to sort of, and this is something that women have done historically, to create the illusion of a smaller waist. So you can do things like, I like this dress because it has full skirts. If I really wanted to take that to the next level, I could definitely wear a little petticoat underneath or a crinoline, just to give more volume to the skirt. And so it would sit out further, making my hips look bigger, because I really need that. But it would make my hips look larger and my waist look smaller by comparison. Now, another trick that, women have been doing forever is wearing something larger on the top, something to make your shoulders look broader, or just to make your boobs look bigger, or whatever, but just to increase the size of the top part of your body, which makes your waist look smaller. Now, I tend to stay away from stuff like that because I already have very large breasts, so I don't need to do anything to make anything look bigger. And, those giant shoulder pads kind of went out of style in the 80s, and thank goodness they haven't come back yet that I know of. I don't always keep up with pop fashion stuff. But anyways, I'm going to just sit in my happy little place where those shoulder pads have not come back in fashion, because I remember the first time around and it was not pretty. So, but you could wear something like that. So I do see a lot of the like fur and faux fur collars and trims coming back into style now. So that would give you a little more, size and volume up top if you are, smaller through the chest than I am. So that's another way you can kind of create the illusion of a smaller waist. The idea here is that we are trying to get that hourglass shape, right? So anything that makes the waist look smaller, so the corset itself, even if we are not taking anything off of our waist, corsets will make your waist more round, which gives it the illusion of being smaller, even if we haven't cinched down anything at all. And I'll do another video on that and show you guys what I'm talking about there. But anything that will make our waist look smaller, so again, the corset, wearing the belt to gather everything in, and then making the top and the bottom look bigger. Now, of course, you don't need to do that. If you really want to hide your corset, say you're doing some waist training, you can absolutely just hide the corset. So I'm going to go and change, and I'm going to wear something that will hide the fact that I'm wearing a corset a little better, and that way you guys can see what that looks like. All right, guys, so I'm back in another dress, and this one still does conform to my body fairly well. So you can see that I have a smaller waist compared to the rest of me, but it looks a little more natural than in the other dress where it was very exaggerated. And this is the same corset. I haven't changed the corset, just the dress. So this dress has, I'm sorry, my dog is making a lot of noise, and I've tried to record this. This would be the 4th time. So I'm just going to kind of go with it. So I apologize if he's making a lot of noise in the background. But this dress basically has a bunch of different, techniques to hide flaws, that you commonly find in women's clothing, that I can also use to hide the corset. So the first thing is that we've got a lot of gathering and sort of looser fabric here. Now this gives a very nice neckline, and this will work for someone like myself that is a little more generous, but it also works for somebody that has a little less up top, and it can give the illusion of, a larger chest. So I also like the shoulders on this dress where they just drop slightly over the curve of my shoulder, and that just gives a nice overall shape. Now, the front of the dress, and I'm going to try to show you guys, you can see that the fabric is gathered all over the place here, and it goes down the whole length of the dress, and this dress is about knee length on me, so it's just gathered all across the front, and I believe this is called ruching, but I'm not 100% on that, but basically it's just gathers in the fabric that make it not be a flat front, and this is really good if you have any minor imperfections, but it also helps to hide all the bones of the corset and the busk in the front. Now, obviously, I'm wearing a corset that has a small busk, not one of the ones that I have that have the big buckles and everything. And you can see at the back, there is a slight bulge from my laces, but for the most part, you cannot see the laces. And those gathers, if I can kind of arrange the dress appropriately, will also help hide that little bulge from you can see the curve of my hip here, but there's only a small, that's where my laces are, right there. So there's only a small bump. And again, those, not pleats, they're not pleats, but the ruching in the fabric will help hide those kind of things. So there's a couple of different ways, examples of clothing that you can wear. Now, of course, if you want to hide it entirely, you could just wear a large sweater or a shirt over top or whatever. I don't think that I need to tell you that, oh, you could wear a t-shirt and that will hide it. But if you do want to go to a more formal occasion or whatever, then something like this hides the corset, and again, like here's the bottom line of the corset, and it's hidden fairly well. It's nice and smooth. I would also, if you are a little on the fluffier side, I would suggest wearing, and I didn't for this video because I don't have any that fit me currently, but the sort of tummy control shapewear for the bottom part of your body. So either the shorts or like the giant granny panty style or whatever, but if you wear that over top of the corset. It will help blend the bottom edge of the corset into the rest of your body, plus give you some control for that part. And that works, I mean, even if you are less fluffy too, it'll hide the bottom. But those of us who are a little more generous tend to already have the shapewear, so that's why I mention it. But that is another good trick in hiding the corset. Now, if you have long corset laces hiding at the back, what you want to do is just tie a single bow. You don't need to like do double knots or anything crazy, but take it and you can kind of tuck the extra laces underneath the bottom of your corset. So just bring them down and tuck them up underneath the bottom of the corset. Alternately, you can split them in half and tuck half down the top and half sort of up the bottom of the corset. If you have somebody to give you a hand, you can actually hide the excess laces underneath the laces themselves. But there's lots of different things you could do to hide that bulge from the laces. I typically find that it's not too much of a problem. The only thing I do not suggest doing is tying them around your waist. So if we wrap the laces around the waist of the corset, that can damage the delicate fashion fabrics that the corset is made out of. So you really don't want to do that. So just tuck your laces either up underneath the bottom or down above from the top. Both of those, tuck it under the lacing panel. Whatever works for you, whatever you find most comfortable. And that's what I tend to do when trying to hide my laces and my corset overall.